What's up, everybody? I hadn't done this in a long, long time. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever gone live without interviewing anybody. So I want to try something new. So if you don't know, this is the Biblical Conservative Channel. I'm your host, Sean Crenshaw. Tonight, I just want to talk about how progressive policies and Black progressives like Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, how those progressives and those policies are the worst enemy to Black people. And why are they the worst enemy to Black people, as you can say? Well, a number of reasons why. The number one reason is it causes Black people to let their guard down and not hold that progressive leader accountable. So let me talk about that. So before I get into Mayor Brandon Johnson and the issues he's facing with the migrants and all that craziness, please be sure, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Also, if you're interested in being a member, sign up for memberships. I got three layers and three tiers of membership. So feel free to do that as well. Hit the super chats, super thanks. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate everybody that's been paying attention to my videos and checking things out. So I hope you like this live stream that I'm doing tonight. Based upon feedback, I may do more of these. I was just led to try this tonight just to do something on a Tuesday night, do something a little bit different, as getting close to the holiday season. It's always good to give a gift every now and then. So I wanted to give a gift and do something a little bit different and change things up a little bit. So when it comes to progressives, progressives have this mindset. See, progressives, they think that they are gods on the earth, right? That they are all knowing and that they have the answers to every problem that ails society. See, that's the difference between a progressive and a conservative. See, a conservative, by and large, understands the frailties of men, understands that men are not perfect. So we have to understand that every single person, every man has the natural ability to achieve. So conservatives want to, by and large, conserve individual liberty, conserve the individual rights that a person has. And as a biblical conservative, we take it a step further. We truly understand that people are created in the image of God, that people have their own agency, that they have rights that have been endowed to them by their creator and by nature's God. And so, therefore, conservatives do not want now the old school conservatives. Now, you got these neoconservatives who all into big government and all that kind of stuff. That's not what a traditional conservative was about. A traditional conservative was about limited government, was about getting the government out of your business, getting the government out of your way so you can live the life that God has destined for you to live. So that's what a traditional conservative was like. And then progressives, on the other hand, like I said, they see themselves as God, right? So because they see themselves as God, whenever there's an issue with society, they feel they can use the power of government to solve that issue. If there's an issue when it comes to homelessness, instead of trying to get to the root problem or what is driving the issue with the people that are homeless, instead of really addressing the root problem, understanding that each individual person has their own challenges they have to deal with, progressives like to use the power of government to solve those societal problems. That's why we call progressives big government people. They are the big government folks. They're the ones who want the government to solve all of their issues. And so that's why you have all of these attempts to legalize everything, all these attempts to use the power of government to solve all the problems that people are dealing with. And so, how does this relate to Black people? Well, when it comes to Black people, see, ever since the civil rights movement, Black people and Black politicians, instead of continuing down the progress, the trajectory that had been made during the civil rights movement. Now, people have different thoughts around the civil rights movement, whether or not it was truly beneficial for the country or not. That's a conversation for another day, right? But when you think about it, when you think about what Black civil rights leaders did after the civil rights movement, instead of following through and capitalizing on the gains made through the civil rights movement, through the civil rights legislation, and taking that back and then building up the Black family, building up the Black man, empowering the Black men to take the initiative to now take care of their families, to now be the leaders that God has called them to be. Instead, what the Black civil rights leaders did, they actually partnered with the big government, the liberal, the progressive Democrats, to exchange their political power for the destruction of the community. So, in other words, what happened was you have leaders like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. They got into the political game. And once they got into that political game, then they got in bed with the progressives and the liberals. And because they got in bed with the progressives and the liberals, they sold out the Black community. They started pushing for these progressive big government policies that handicapped, that hamstrung the Black community, and it caused the Black community to stop progressing. Because before the civil rights movement and before all these big government legislation, before affirmative action, before all those things, in the midst of true segregation, in the midst of true Jim Crow, Black people were still doing well. They were doing well. They had their own businesses. They had their own areas. I mean, people like to talk about the Greenwood area in Tulsa when it comes to the Tulsa Race Massacre. When they talk about areas down in Mississippi that I'm familiar with. When you talk about areas down here in Wilmington, those are areas that were prosperous because Black people realized that they came together and they built community. But what happened was when the civil rights legislation went through and when desegregation happened and when Black leaders sold out the Black community, it handicapped and hamstrung the Black community. It really did. And so, therefore, Black people started looking to government for their solutions. They started looking to policy to solve their problems. And it was intentional and it was deliberate because what that did, that took the focus away from individual agency. It took the focus away from the God given drive that has been given to each and every one of us and has made the welfare state prevalent within the Black community. So, case in point, you have Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. So, in Chicago, there's a big deal going on with these migrants. A lot of Black people are mad for these migrants coming into the city and taking away resources, taking away things from the constituents that otherwise would have been given to them. But instead, they're going to migrants. And these migrants are now sleeping in the police office. I mean, you got these churches coming together, providing resources to these migrants to house these migrants. You got Brandon Johnson saying that all the heat that he's experiencing because of the migrant crisis, because of white supremacy and the MAGA crowd. It's a whole bunch of mess going on. But you have to understand something about what's going on in Chicago, right? Two things. First thing is the DNC is there next summer. The Democratic convention is in Chicago next summer. So he is feeling the heat from the DNC to make sure that everything is all good in Chicago. Why do you think they're busing so many migrants to Chicago? And why do you think Chicago has become a focal point over the past few months? It's because the Democratic Party is doing, see, that's what Black people have to realize something. I made a video talking about wake up black people and talking about how Chicago residents are waking up to what's going on, to the reality of what's going on the ground. The reality of what's going on the ground is that the Democratic Party no longer, they need the black vote, but they're no longer making it priority. They are no longer making it priority because you just heard, as a matter of fact, I need to play this because I'm going to play it in a second. You had a senator from Illinois. I'm going to find it and play it for you. The senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, saying that illegals should serve in the military. Yeah, the senator from Illinois, I'm going to find that video and show you. The senator from Illinois said that illegals should serve in the military because the military numbers are low and they're not doing a great job recruiting. So why not allow these people who came here illegally to serve? And that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. They are replacing black people with these illegals and with these migrants. That is intentional. And Chicago is going to be the focal point because they want to use Chicago as their masthead to say, hey, we are the party of the illegal, the migrants. We are the party of the migrants. We love the migrants. We support the migrants. And we have this city in Chicago. There's a sanctuary city, and this is where we're having our convention next year. Don't you see how much we care for you, migrants? Why don't you support us in the Democratic Party? Never mind, you got areas in Chicago that are struggling, that have no resources. But let's take a listen to what this pastor has to say about Brandon Johnson.
We had an audio problem with a good pastor Brooks, but he is back with us now. My question, sir, you're a community leader. My question is, can the mayor retain support? I understand he's losing support because of the migrant crisis and the crime crisis. He's losing the support, and there's real hostility from Chicago residents. Will he have to change course, change policy?
Absolutely. In order for him to move Chicago forward, he's going to have to gain the support of more residents. At this present time, it is showing he's losing support from the protests to the lawsuits. He's continuing to go down a slippery slope. These super liberals in Chicago have proven that they are not ready to run a city like Chicago.
So what happens next? The mayor's policies fall to pieces?
Well, the policies are definitely falling to pieces. And what we're seeing in Chicago is that individuals are finally seeing that the policies that have been established for so long in our city are not for the residents of Chicago. We're going to continue to see these issues come up every single day. It's unfortunate, too, that he continues to blame conservatives and right wings individuals for the issues that Chicago is facing. But all of us are smart enough to see through the red tape and the rhetoric that that's so untrue.
Is there overt hostility to the migrants?
I don't think there's so much overt hostility toward the migrants. I think, in my case, I can sympathize. I understand these migrants wanting to come to America and have a better family and better situation for their families. But at the same time, we have to keep the laws of our country. We just can't allow anyone to just come in and do anything and not have to follow the process that others have followed. We're going to have to make sure that our border is controlled. We're going to have to make sure that that the migrants in this city have to get in line like all the other people who have come to the country, and we have to establish those processes for everyone.
You have to wait a long time for all that to happen. Meanwhile,
Yes.
I hate to say it, Pastor, but things might just get worse. Pastor Corey Brooks, thanks very much for being with us today. Sorry it's so short.
Thank you.
Sorry about the audio problem. Next time you're on,
okay.
we'll hear you loud and clear. Thanks a lot.
It's always a joy to be with you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you heard that, right? You saw that. You saw that in Chicago, the residents are really fed up with what's going on with Brandon Johnson. And the community leaders, like this pastor right here, are speaking out about that. And it's good to see that. It's sad that it takes something like this. It's sad that it takes all of this heat, all of this awakening to cause the people to actually stand up and say something. These are the same people that voted for Brandon Johnson earlier this year, which is crazy. It's crazy that they replaced Lori Lightfoot with Brandon Johnson. But here's the video I wanted to show you about Dick Durbin and how he is proposing a bill to allow illegal immigrants to serve in the military. Just take a listen to this.
What troubles me about the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there's also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country. Should we give them the chance?
See, there you go. You heard that. They are saying the quiet part out loud now. They are coming out and saying what exactly they're looking to do. They're coming out and telling you what the plan is. And what you see going on in Chicago is just a precursor to what they want to do in the rest of the country. The fact that you have the senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, actually saying out loud that illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, people that came over here illegally should serve in our military. And if they do, then they'll have a path to citizenship. Isn't that crazy? That is crazy, right? But I'm not surprised because that has been the plan all along. And I know a lot of people got upset when Tucker Carlson and other people talked about the great replacement theory and all that stuff. But what I would disagree with Tucker on is that the great replacement plan wasn't for white people. The great replacement plan is to remove black people, is to strip black people and push black people even further down. Because what that does, see, that ties into cultural Marxism, that ties into this whole oppressor and oppressed ideology that is being pushed by the Democrats. Because what you do is you create the problem and then you come in and provide a solution for the problem. So if they bring all this influx of illegals in from the southern border, bust them into these democratically controlled cities by black people, like, for example, New York. Think about it. The mayor in New York, black guy. The mayor in Chicago, black guy. The mayor in Atlanta that's pushing for these illegals to come to his city, black people. So they, oh boy, I tell you, these black progressives, they really are in bed with these people that don't care about the black community. But what is going to happen is these people who come over here illegally are going to come in and strip away and take away opportunities from black people. Yeah, they're coming in to take away opportunities from black people. And so therefore black people will be pushed further and further down. And the ones who do not have a true relationship with Christ, who do not understand that they have to operate in God's economy and try to operate in this system that has been set up by these people who do not care about them, by these elites who only want to keep them in a permanent serfdom, these people will become even more frustrated, and they'll buy into the lie that America is systemically racist. They'll buy into the lie that they are oppressed. They'll buy into the lie of white supremacy. And all that does is just a self-fulfilling prophecy. All that does is cause more and more black people to not want to work, more and more black people, more and more poor people to stay on the dole of the government, to be the controlled opposition, if you will, to be the serfs, the working class, actually they're not even gonna be the working class. They're gonna be the serfs, they're gonna be the servants, they're gonna be the useful idiots that the elites use to continue to perpetuate this cycle. They'll build this system upon the backs of the people that they claim to be helping. And that's what they always do. But the problem is a lot of folks are not waking up to this reality. Some are. Some are starting to wake up to this reality, but unfortunately, a lot of them are not. A lot of people are still in the dark. They still think that voting for Democrats as a person of color, as a black person, is what you do. That's why you have so many of them vote for these Democrats. That's why I have 90% voter participation for the Democratic Party from the black community. That's why they always go every 2 to 4 years into the black church and they say things that are biblical, say things that are Christian. They speak Christianese in order to make sure black people come out and turn out for them. And then once they get into office, get into power, then they help the real constituency, the LGBTQ and the illegals and the feminists and those people, and they don't do anything for black folks. But that's been the racket, that's been the game all along. And unfortunately, what they do is they use mayors, they use progressives like Brandon Johnson as a cover. They use him as a cover, right? So they're using Brandon Johnson as a cover because he's a black guy. They can accomplish just like they did with Obama. See, they use Obama as a cover to get in the LGBTQ agenda because they knew that a lot of people would be afraid to speak out against Obama because he's a black person. He's a person of color. So you can't speak out against him or you'll be called a racist. You'll be called a homophobe. You'll be called sexist, this and that. And so therefore they're using Brandon Johnson in the same capacity. They're using Brandon Johnson in the same capacity. They're sneaking in their agenda. They're pushing their agenda with the cover of a black leader in the city. But I'm glad to see that some black people are finally stepping up, raising their voices, expressing themselves, making their voice known, and speaking truth to the power that's looking to inflict harm upon their community. So just wanted to have a quick session right now to talk about it, but feel free to subscribe, like this video, click on the super chat, super thanks, and I appreciate y'all listening.